Hello, it's the Riverbank Witch here. Welcome to my Riverbank in Wales and the fourth episode of the first fabulous 5 minutes. Today I'm reading from the second Standing Stone book, which is called Silence is Broken. 5 minutes to enjoy the story. I really hope you enjoy it. Opening her eyes, Rachel shivered. She lay flat on the grass, and far above her hung Inanna's girdle, magnificent in its dazzling abundance. Her duffel coat lay beside her, and she stood up, fumbling her way into the sleeves and raiding her pockets for gloves. She stamped her feet to keep warm as she covered her frozen digits and saw a light swaying in the darkness, making its way up the mound. "Here you are," said Marcus, breathless and sweating. His eyes were red and swollen and his cheeks stained with salt. "Yes, I love it up here," said Rachel, opening her arms to the heavens and twirling around until she fell to the ground, dizzily and giggling. "Let me have a go," said Marcus. Head back, he grinned as he turned again and again, and until he joined Rachel in a heap on the grass. What happened to the man who couldn't resist a grass slope to roll down, or the challenge of a river swing, or the man who changed his hairstyle and facial hair like he changed his shirt, said Rachel. What happened to the woman who came to wash my back in the bathroom, but could never resist getting in, or the woman who played Debussy on the piano while I made fresh pasta, and always wore stockings rather than tights? They sat with their backs to the standing stone, looking up at the splendour above them. Rachel put her hand on Marcus' arm and he covered it with his own. "Who knows," said Rachel, "but shall we try to find them together?" Marcus stood up, pulling her with him. He clicked on his torch and, still holding Rachel's hand, began walking down the mound. "I'm taking you home," he said. "Home for Christmas." They descended together, their arms bumping and their breath entwining, as if neither wished to stray too far in case this peaceful, contented spell was broken. Marcus brought in all the cut wood he could find, and soon they had the burner blazing. With tea and toast they sat close together, remembering the comfortable stillness they'd shared on the mound, both hoping to replicate it but afraid to speak. The next morning Marcus gathered holly and mistletoe and cut streamers of ivy, and together they cleaned and decorated their home with the symbols of midwinter. Rachel ransacked drawers and cupboards for all the glass and pottery receptacles she could find and filled them with tea lights. That evening they lounged on old duvets and cushions on the floor. In the glow of candlelight they listened to music and sipped a smooth Merlot. Rachel accepted Marcus' arms around her and she rested her head on his shoulder. "I'd forgotten how comforting it is to be held by you." Marcus pulled her closer. "I'm sorry. We're both to blame. I get my practical head on and I can't get past it sometimes. I've neglected you, I know," said Marcus, "but losing Mum and Dad and Will is as if a piece of me went with them. It's left me weak and vulnerable. It's okay. I wanted to help and I thought if you kept going, looked forward to a new start, but you've not grieved yet." Marcus sat up, drawing Rachel onto his lap while he leaned against the sofa. "Neither have you," he said gently. "I don't blame you. You know that, don't you?" She let her head rest on his chest as 2 years of tears fell down her cheeks, bringing with them the emotional anguish of the loss of their baby. His short life played out in her mind, the joy and excitement of finding out she was pregnant, the news of the death of Marcus's mum and dad and his brother Will, and then finally the tiny, silent, inert bundle taken from her arms. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "Please don't," said Marcus, rocking her gently. "I was so wrapped up in my own grief I couldn't take any more." They cried together for the loss of their son as the candles flickered in their holders and the cold winter's night began to freeze. Rachel woke the next morning and snuggled closer to Marcus. Last night, once their tears had abated, Marcus had kissed her with a passion she'd forgotten, and they spent the evening rediscovering every part of each other until they fell into an exhausted, blissful sleep. Wrapping her side of the duvet around her, Rachel knelt up to the tiny window high in the gable. A landscape of glittering frost greeted her. When Candy opened her eyes, she sat on the dirt with the lever on the wall in front of her. As her brain took in her suited, booted and gloved body and touched the PD visor, down on her head. The needle on the silver disc touched the second reg segment, and Candy stood, slamming the lever to the ground. She waited at the guard post beside the metal box. As Aaron stood before her, she slid the security band over his wrist and flipped back her visor. "Hello, Aaron," she said. "I think you and I should talk, don't you?" Aaron's startled expression and miming of shutting her visor made Candy laugh, until a movement behind her and a cloth over her mouth turned her world black. A throbbing pain in her forehead and a painfully dry mouth roused her from her enforced slumber. Cold metal gripped her ankles and pinned her head to the table on which she lay. Her torso was trapped beneath something heavy, which also pinned her arms to her sides. Panic rose in her throat, and she suppressed the scream that built inside her as she feared her worst nightmare was a reality. She blinked frantically, checking to ensure her eyes were open as she tried to focus on her surroundings, but all was dark. Nausea squirmed in her stomach until she forced herself to take the best deep breath she could, and as she breathed out, she began to count her beats. So that's it. Just the first fabulous 5 minutes, which I really hope you've enjoyed. Don't forget, you can purchase all my books on Amazon, either via my author page or via the link below this video will take you straight to this book. Lovely to see you here, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye for now.